Hello everybody, I'm Gryphon Gaming, and welcome back to Depression Quest. So this is actually, the beginning of my play session. I haven't played this game in quite a while, and I found something that it actually doesn't save your progress, so I had to go all the way back. If this wasn't where I was, sorry. I think the decision that I left off on in the last episode, I think what I chose was I went to the therapist's office, basically, because I don't remember any of this, and I remembered the thing before this, so we're gonna get started. Before that, though, if anyone notices that I don't have an intro on this, but I do it on some of my other videos. One, when I started recording this series, I didn't even have the intro, and also even so, I don't feel it's very fitting to have on such a dramatic game like this to have such a bright and colorful and happy intro. So we're gonna get into it. So I just went to the therapist's office. I forced myself in. You had your first session with your new therapist, Dr. Susan Melville, a tall woman in her mid-40s with a disarming demeanor and patient eyes, with the start of the slightest smile lines. She makes you feel comfortable fairly easily, which is a pleasant surprise after all of your anxiety over the appointment. As you leave, you make a second appointment. You're still skeptical about all of this, but you figure you might as well see where this goes. The hardest part, it seems, was taking the first step. You're still not sure if and how you're going to tell your family or your partner, but you figure you'll deal with that when the time comes. Either way, you feel relieved that you managed to see this through instead of being paralyzed with worry over it. Even if nothing comes of it, you did something you said you would instead of flicking out or running away. You're emotionally exhausted when you get home and collapse into bed. You sleep better that night than you have in a week, and you're not sure if it is because you were so tired when you got home, or if it's because of the therapist. Okay, so this has changed now. You spent some time on a therapist's couch. You're having difficulty finding the motivation to continue going to your sessions. Blah. Can't speak, which is kind of bad for this game. Also, I did the Joe pro tip of forgetting to set timer again. Great job. It's early on a Wednesday morning. Lately, you've developed a nasty habit of waking up 10 to 20 minutes before your alarm rings, and unfortunately today is no exception. You lay in bed, each minute taking closer and closer to wake-up time, and passing on a swelling wave of ever-encroaching dread. Sooner than you'd like, your alarm blares with caustic inevitability. You frantically pound the snooze button and then retreat under your blankets, as if the warmth of your comforter can shield you from the passage of time. You almost always have difficulty rising from bed, but today that simple task seems nothing short of Herculean. After several snooze cycles, you decide that you just can't deal with work today. You're incapable of even rousing yourself from bed, let alone going to work and having to force yourself through a workday. Not to mention you've snoozed so many times that it would be impossible to make it on time now anyways. Hey, I have option 2 back, but I think that might just be because there's not very many answers. What do you do? I don't really know if work's gonna be my priority though, because I don't want to try to force myself to do too many things. But the third option is never the best option in this game. But see, whenever I take a day off, or when I take our time off to myself, it never works. Alright. In spite of the fact that your body is actively fighting you literally every step of the way, you somehow manage to drag yourself out of bed and make your way into work. Surprisingly, you end up only being about 5 minutes late, and no one seems to notice or care. Though when you woke up, the simple act of being physically present at your job seemed like an impossibility, you were surprised at your own ability to push on through the day. While you are far from enjoying, or indeed even really coping with the dullness of your job today, you seem to have slipped into a trance-like state of automation, and the time is nevertheless passing. Eventually, the end of the day rolls around, and you head home, utterly exhausted, but at the same time almost proud of yourself for having stuck it out. Alright. Cool. I think that was the right choice. It's 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and you have work in the morning. You roll over to see the sickly green glow of the time displayed in your LED alarm clock, and let out an exasperated sigh. You've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours now, to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you're overcome with anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job lead to worries about your future, lead to worries about your very identity, and you're unable to shake them off long enough to doze off. Your eyes won't even stay shut As your mind races through imagined scenarios going horribly wrong, which you promptly attribute to your general worthlessness. Oh my god. I'll get to that in a second. Your thoughts run too fast for you to come to a satisfying conclusion on any one of them. Your room is completely silent, but the silence has given way to a loud static noise rattling around inside your head. Your heart beats loudly, and you worry it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, you'll freak yourself out hard enough that you have a heart attack. You have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours, and you know that your work is so much worse on only a few hours of sleep. What do? Oh my god. I lost almost every single option. Except this one. I was doing everything right. These got better. No. I have to do this is my only option. You get out of bed and head to your desk. Laying in bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company makes you feel like you're going insane. The harshness of the light coming from the screen makes you squint as you turn it on, despite how often you find yourself in this exact situation. There have been so many nights lately just like this. As you begin reading a news story, an online friend of yours IMs you. His name is Attic. Okay. Attic. You're up late again, I see. You. Yeah. Can't sleep. Again. Thinking too much again? Correction. Thinking. You guessed it. Frowny face. Want to talk about it? You end up talking with Attic for quite some time about how you've been feeling. He's always been easy to talk to about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type it out and check before you send it helps you gather your thoughts, and you find it less intimidating in a way to type it all into a prompt than say it aloud. I don't want to be that guy who thinks they can diagnose something because I read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about that, like a doctor. You pause. Are you really that transparent? Or is it that you've gotten used to talking about your feelings at this point? Your insomnia makes you look a little paranoid, but you shake it off. We can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like you're going back to sleep anytime soon anyways. You might as well do something while you're awake. Okay. So none of these options, even if I had all the options, would let me do that. So I'm going to do 3, because that seems nice. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're taking that step. I've heard it's not an easy one. I know people kind of suck at understanding this sort of stuff sometimes. But there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something. So there's no reason to be ashamed if it's your brain that's sick instead. You spend a few more minutes talking with Attic about your therapy and your feelings about it. He's incredibly supportive, and you're happy to find that you have a confidant. Is that a word? That understands your illness and is willing to lend an ear when you're having nights like this. A little while later, you fall back into bed, kitten in tow, and find it easier to drift off to sleep. Even in therapy, you know you're still going to have nights like these sometimes. It's good to know you have a friend who will help you carry through them. Oh, God. Hold on a second. It is a chilly Thursday night, and you've just gotten off work. This has felt like one of the longest days you've faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional has happened, a ton of minor things kept going wrong, and coworkers have tried your patience throughout the day. You considered leaving work early. The last thing you wanted to do was deal with your insufferable boss on top of everything else. You are lost in thought on the commute home, and your feelings of frustration, both with your life and the world around you, build as you run into minor annoyances like someone bumping into you really hard as they walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, and remember these feelings were ones you identified as a negative feedback loop with your therapist. These pent-up feelings aren't dying down, and are eating at you. You open up your front door and stare at your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion comes over you, and you feel like your energy levels are low enough that you'll likely settle into a single activity tonight. Okay. I wonder if there's actually ever a chance where you can get the first option. Alright, reaching out time, because gotta help people. People are always gonna help me. Your head feels too noisy, and need to trade it for some actual conversation. Your therapist did say that it was important to reach out to your support network, so you might as well give it a shot. Okay, so I'm not going to call my mother because she's stupid. Well, she's not stupid, but she's not understanding. Hold on a second. That's weird. And Malcolm doesn't really know about my issues. I think Alex does, so I'm going to do Alex. God, I hope she doesn't leave me. You dial Alex, who picks up after only 2 rings. You ask her if she has time to talk, and she tells you she's just hanging around in her PJs, and is actually somewhat bored for once due to being caught up on her housework. You try to figure out where to start with how you're feeling, and are overcome with missing her face. You ask her if she feels like grabbing some dinner, and you notice her barely contained surprise and delight on the other end of the line. Hooray! You meet about half an hour later at an inexpensive diner not far from your apartment. While the food is not great, you're surprised by how much your mood seems to have elevated just being in her company. While at first you were extremely hesitant to talk about your job situation for fear of being burdensome or sounding like a whiner, you see her listening intently to you with what even to you seems to be genuine concern. After winding down with a beer, you cautiously open up a little bit more about your feelings surrounding your job and how drained it leaves you feeling. How you feel like you're simply existing, selling days of your life for no real purpose. You surprise even yourself when you start talking about how frustrated and stymied you feel by your job, about how you used to feel passionately about things, but feel like all of your energy and capacity for creativity is getting leached out of you each and every workday. You can't remember how long it's been since you externalized this much raw emotion. The two of you spend several hours in that diner booth, long after you half-eaten food was cleared, and the waitress stopped refilling your coffee cups. As you get up to leave, all of a sudden, a wave of self-consciousness washes over you, and you suddenly feel incredibly awkward. Then Alex stands up and grabs you tightly around your waist. You realize that, short of boring her with your seemingly endless rants, she's simply happy to have gotten a chance to spend time with you. Real time with you. It's been, by all accounts, incredibly too long since you've allowed yourself to open up to them like this, and there's almost a palpable feeling of closeness you allow yourself to hold on to as you go into bed that night. I think I'm doing well. This game is so difficult, though, because you know that if you're, making the wrong choice, then you're, in some senses of the word, ruining this person's life. I mean, it's not real, but, Oh, by the way, for anybody who cares, yes, a while ago I did miss the thing about the project I was working on. If anybody actually cares about that or if they got annoyed, yes, I did miss it, and I figured that out when I was editing my last video. Thank you for watching, everybody. Gryphon Gaming signing out. Join me next time on Depression Quest.